Okay. First part, number line. I'm going through this quick because we already did this the last couple days. So if in your notes you want to draw this number line, I'm just going to go a few numbers in. Let's start at -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let's go from -1. Let's call this letter M. Now let's go up to N here, up to 4. So we're going -1 up to 4. That's where my 2 dots are. So this is where we're going. If I want to find that distance, just count with your fingers. Like, it's pretty easy. You can count. What I mean by fingers, just count the gaps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fine. It's 5 for a distance. That's the answer. That's what they're looking for. But how the book will write it. So maybe this is problem number 7 in the book. I have no idea. I'm making that up. So let's say it's problem number 7. This is what they asked you for. This is all they have. That's what they have written. So if you read the instructions above number 7, it says, for the following problems, following segments, find the distance. So, to find the length, find from end to end. So you look at the graph, because again, they'll have one picture, you're going to have to use it over and over and over. We're finding MN. MN is here and here. You have to use this formula where you subtract the 2 numbers from each other, whatever they are. Well, for me, I'm subtracting n to n. N minus n. That's what I'm doing, right? Because that's my endpoint. Well, n's endpoint is -1. I'm going to subtract the n endpoint, which is 4. And no, it does not matter the order you subtract. Whatever the 2 numbers are, you subtract them. So -1 minus 4 is -5. You take the absolute value of it, which is 5. That's the distance. That's what I want to see on paper. I want to see that. Yeah, I know you can count with your fingers. That's great. Count it with your fingers to double check what the answer is before you start. Now, if you're that person that switched around and said n minus m, fine. It's the same answer. You're going to be doing 4 minus a -1. This will make 4 plus 1, which is 5, and that's value 5 is still 5. It's always positive. Questions with the number line? Understand what the question is going to ask? Okay, let's go to the new graph. Question.
Do you have to go bars around everything?
Just when you're going through, when you get down to your final answer, just with the digit. That's all I want. Yeah. So if you're doing the absolute values, leave those bars there until the very. Yep. Good question. Anything else? That was good. Okay, perfect. Let's go to the graph. Does everyone have the graph paper out? We're doing a new graph today because we need to practice this. Okay. We talked about this yesterday. We had the quadrant systems. You know, quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and 4. And yes, they go counterclockwise, despite what you think. I'll explain that. That's in the later sections. We talk about why they go counterclockwise. I need a coordinate. Somebody give me a coordinate for quadrant 2. Coordinate that can be up in quadrant number 2. I'm going to call this coordinate C. What are the 2 numbers that will get me in quadrant 2? Please, George, give me one.
-12.
-12?
12.
12. Cool. So -12 over, 12 up. Here, way up here. That's his point C. He committed. He went as far as he could go. I like it. All right, that was good. Now, I need a coordinate that's in quadrant 1.
5, 5.
5, 5. So let's call this D. 5, 5. This is quadrant number 1. So 5 over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Boom. Here's D. Okay. Go from there to there. Sorry, the dot got my bad there. Goal is to find the distance from C to D. Bless you. Okay. So the example the book would have, maybe this is problem number 8 in your book. They give you the graph, they give you that, or they give you the coordinates, and they say find the distance from C to D. So this is what they have written down, but in the instructions it says find the distance for the given segment. Now that we're on a graph, or they give you coordinates, I don't know which one they're going to give you. They could just give you this, they could give you the picture, and you got to go figure it out. Just be careful. The pictures, I don't think they go out to 12s like mine would. Like my picture I always give you always goes out to 12, but the book doesn't. So you got to look at the number system. They want you to find the distance. You need that distance formula written down. So if you don't know, here it is. Length equals. Ooh, that was a calculator. Here it is. Is that a calculator?
Yeah.
All right. Square root. So length equals, you're going to subtract the x numbers from each other, square it, add that to the difference in the y numbers, square. That's the formula. This is the third day of writing that formula down now. So you're going to subtract the x's, subtract the y's, square them, add them together. So now, on the coordinates I gave you, or actually the coordinates you guys made up, which numbers are the x numbers?
First one.
First ones, best way to put it. Boom. The first numbers are the x numbers. So I don't care the order you put them, you just have to subtract them. It doesn't make a difference. In fact, I'm going to go negative 12 minus 5. Because it does not matter the order I put them. So I'm subtracting negative 12 minus the 5. Now for the y numbers, well obviously if the y numbers have to be the back numbers. So we're doing 12 minus 5. Questions on how I set that up? It's always the x numbers in the front, the first two numbers being subtracted, and the back is the back two numbers being subtracted top down. Kind of thing. When we do the math here, what's negative 12 minus 5 more? Negative 17. And notice I'm leaving the parentheses on it, because if you type that in your calculator and you forget to put the parentheses, your calculator will actually give you a wrong answer. Because it's not the calculator's fault, it's actually how you typed it in was wrong. 12 minus 5 is what, 7? And notice I'm not putting I'm not putting the parentheses around it because it's not negative, so I don't really care about it. Alright, 17. Ooh, there's a phone marker. Let me just turn that off, whatever that is.
Go to the caddy.
Yes, go ahead. In the caddy when you walked in. Alright, negative 17, 7, alright. So negative 17. We have to square it. What is that, like 289? Somebody have a calculator? Is it 289?
Yeah.
Okay, it's positive 289, because when you square it, it should be positive 289. And now 7 squared is a 49. Those are big numbers.
How do you get that on the top of your head?
What?
17 squared, how do you know that?
I don't know.
So picture.
I don't know. I didn't actually even multiply in my head. I just knew it. That was weird. Yeah. I got certain ones memorized. All right. But 289 plus 49. Now, you saw me multiply, right? But I can't add in my head. I can't do it. I don't know why. I can't.
338.
338, thanks. I'm not joking. I can't add in my head. It's the weirdest thing in the world. All right. So, 338. So we have to take the square root of that. This is the part you need to learn how to type in your calculator. We did this yesterday. The square, so if you have my calculator in front of you, you have to hit like the little shift key, go find the square button, it's down here, you can see it in blue, it's this one. It's the one without the X out front. Yeah, so it's gonna be a decimal across the screen, right? So hit the second key, hit that little square button, then type in 338, hit enter.
18.38.
18.38. Okay, and notice I'm using a little bacon symbol, it's approximately 18.38. Is everyone getting that number? Did anyone not know how to type that in? Okay, good. That'll probably be the one type of problem today that people probably struggle with the most, will be those. Just because you gotta remember the formula, you gotta know how to plug the numbers in, you gotta know how to type it in, there's just a lot of things for error. If you're doing that in the homework, I wanna see this stuff. Like, and I do wanna see the decimal, I wanna know the decimal again. So I wanna see like how you did it, going up. Now, do you need every set? No, maybe you went from here to there, I don't know how you did it. But at least show me some steps, because no one can look at that part and go, oh, it's 18.3, I did it in my head. I can't even do that in my head. Because I can't even add those numbers in my head, let alone trying to take the square root of something in my head. So you gotta write down something. Questions on those? Now remember, they'll either give you the picture, or they'll just give you the coordinates. You do the same math. So if they give you the picture, just figure out what the coordinates are, write them down, then do the math. Or if they give you the coordinates, you can just go here. You don't need to draw the picture if they don't give you one. We're good? Should be the third day of doing that, so hopefully it's starting to sink in like, oh yeah, those are kind of all the same problems every single day. Brand new stuff. I think we started this yesterday, midpoint. Now comes the fun stuff. I'll leave this problem on the board. do midpoint. All right, midpoint is a new word. It's a new vocab word you need to know. It's cramming two words together, middle point. So the middle point of something, of a segment. It is the central point of a segment. It's the central point of a segment. It has to be a line segment, right? So you're looking for the middle. It separates your segment into two perfect halves. Separates the segment into two congruent parts. So what I mean by congruent parts, you're going to be breaking that stick, MN, into perfect pieces, two equal halves. That's what the word congruent means, two equal parts. Now, what I'm looking for is the digit, the coordinate for it. So they wanted you, so maybe this is problem number, say this is problem number 9 in your book. Again, I'm making all these problems up. And it wants to know the midpoint of end to end. This is how they'll write it. Find the instructions up above say, find the midpoint for the following problems. So you gotta know if it's one's midpoint or distance. There's a clear difference here. So one's midpoint. It just wants to know the number in the middle, like here. It could be a decimal, it could be an actual hash mark, there could be a letter sitting there, but it wants to know the middle. So, visually, the middle's like there. Now how I know that's the middle? 2 bars and about a half, 2 bars and a half. So it's about right there. So what number is right here?
1.5.
That's the number I'm looking for. Some people are super visual. They can just immediately see it and go, it's right there. 1.5. Great. But for those who are like, I don't know, how do you find out 1.5? We have a formula. Obviously, we always have formulas for everything. So what you do is you add the two endpoints together. You add them, m plus n, whatever the endpoints are. And whatever those two add up together, you divide it by 2. And I don't care if the numbers are negative. So you add whatever the two numbers are, and you divide it by 2. So, to prove my point, to prove that it's going to be 1.5, m, what is the m number? -1. We're going to add that to n, n is 4, and we're going to divide that number by 2. So what's -1 plus 4? 3. You're going to get 3, and you're going to divide it by 2, guess what? 1.5. That's not good. That's what I'm looking for. It's just a digit, single number. That's all it is. It's not looking for the distance across. It's not looking for, anything else. It's just what's the number in the middle, the midpoint. We're good with that? Okay, I'm gonna leave that there. That's good to see that. That's brand new. I don't know if we got to that yesterday. I think we just started to write down the midpoint and we got cut off on the middle. All right. Let's do midpoint for the next problem. I'm going back to this problem over here again. So this is the part where you're going to really have to pay attention to the instructions. Like really read, are they asking for midpoint? Are they asking for distance? You got to know because there's different formulas, right? Midpoint has its own formula. Distance had its own. Okay, we're back to the graph, correct? We're going to find the midpoint of that piece, the middle of that stick. Most people visually can kind of see where it's going to be. Like the visual middle, it's about right in that range here, somewhere in that ballpark. There you go, there's one crazy line. It's in that area. I don't know the number, it's just there. To find it, to find where that middle of that stick is from C to D, so maybe this is problem number 10. The instructions say, find the midpoints of that stick now, not just the distance, the midpoint. It's basically this formula, but you do it twice. It's the same formula over. So, the trick is you're going to add the x coordinates together, divide by 2, put a comma, and then add the y numbers together, and divided by 2. Because the midpoint is a coordinate, right? It's a number, it's a digit. So your final answer will be a coordinate. It'll be something comma something. I'm not looking for distance. It's not just, it's 15 across. No, no, no. It's the dot where it's sitting. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, I'll let you write that formula down if you haven't already. Okay. So, you plug in my numbers. What are my x numbers up here?
12,
Which one?
negative 12,
Negative 12 and
5.
5. We're going to add those together. Negative 12 plus 5. And you're going to divide that by 2. That's going to be your first coordinate. That's the first number in the first spot. The x numbers, right? You're going to do the same for the y numbers. So the y numbers, now that's what, 12 and 5? You can add those together and divide by 2. Will it turn out to be a decimal? Yeah, probably. Probably. That's just the way it's going to work. When you divide by 2, it's usually like a half, a 0.5 or something. Does it have to? No. I mean, they could be perfect even numbers and you divide by 2 and it works out. But doing the math here. So what do we have? We have negative 12 plus 5, that's what, negative 7?
Yeah.
So that's adding the top, and we're going to divide that by 2. And then the next one is 12 plus 5 is 17. And we're going to divide that by 2. Now, this is the part where calculator becomes really handy. You divide the numbers. 7 divided by 2 is 3.5, so negative 3.5. And 17 divided by 2 is 8.5.
Yeah.
8.5. So the coordinate to get to the middle is that. That's what I'm looking for. That's it, right there. That's the answer. That's what I want. That's it. On a graph, again, they're not going to ask you to draw, but on a graph, what that means, like on this picture, means to find the middle, to find that midpoint, you had to go over negative 3.5, so negative 3.5 is right about here, and then I had to go up, what, 8.5? Positive 8.5 in the second quadrant. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.5. Oh my goodness, I was right on the arrow is really close. Most people are very visual, they can kind of see where the middle is. The human eye is incredible, like how close to the middle you can get by guessing. Spatial acuity, you can see that. Questions on what that number means. That's what I'm looking for. So if they ask for midpoint, it's either like a digit or a coordinate. If they ask for distance, that's where you have to do the distance formula. So it's like a digit, a number in the end. Okay, questions, comments, concerns about midpoints. As long as you have the formula down and you have that example, most people are fine. They don't need to see a second one, they just kind of know it. Again, on test day, because test day, we have maybe a test maybe the end of next week, maybe? Yeah, probably the end of next week. I would assume we'll have a test by then, a quiz, probably a test. The formulas will be on the board somewhere. Usually, like for me, like when I put formulas, I usually put them on like these sideboards. So all the formulas will be there, you just gotta know how to use it. Okay, any questions, comments, concerns about those? Do they make sense? Because remember, why this formula is working, it's finding an average. You add things together and divide, that's an average. It's like an average in bowling. You add up your scores, you divide by how many times you bowled. 2 games, that's an average, it's the middle number. All right, last thing today. We only have one word to talk about and we're done, then you can work on your homework. Plenty of it. Geez, you're gonna have like 20-some minutes to work today. Last word today. It is called a bisector. Now, the reason why I bring this up, there's no homework problems that are based on the bisector today. The reason I bring it up is that when you see the definition, I can understand why people get it mixed up with the word midpoint. So bisector is kind of an important thing when you get into geometry. It's one of those main bullet words that you need to know. So, bisector. It's an actual geometric figure. It's a shape. It's something. It's an actual object. So usually what the book says, it's a line, ray, segment, or plane that intersects a geometric figure at its center. Or, in other words, instead of center, midpoint. Now, I'm putting midpoint in quotes because I don't know if we're talking about a segment or not. Midpoint is used for when you talk about a line segment, there's a middle to this segment. But some geometric figures have a center to it. Like a square, there's a center to a square. But a bisector is the actual object that's cutting something in half. So it's the line, the ray, the segment, or plane. It's the actual physical object that is crossing through the figure. It will hit the midpoint. So here's the example I always tell people. So you have a stick, you have a segment. So here's your segment A to B. All right, there's your stick. The stick has a midpoint. Right? There could be a middle spot right here. Let's say that's point. Let's call this midpoint. There's your midpoint. Let's call it point P. Point P, that's your midpoint. Okay? What a bisector is, it's the actual object that's going through that middle spot. So the bisector itself would be anything I want to draw that passes through that. This is the bisector. It's the physical object cutting through a midpoint on an object, or the center of an object. So in this case, this is a line. Let's call this Q. So the bisector could be a line, it could be QP. The lines, here was the actual, this is the bisector. The midpoint was point P, but on A to B. But this object is the physical thing cutting through it. Now why bring this up? Some people, when they start getting into later geometry, they get the two words mixed up. Midpoint's the middle point. The bisector is the actual physical thing that's cutting through it. And it could be anything. It could be a line, like I did an example of line. It could be a ray, a segment, but it's actually doing the physical cutting of an object. This object was cut in perfect halves, A to B. So there's different types of bisectors. There's segment bisectors, like this one, that cut through a segment. There's angle bisectors. There's other types. So you gotta know. Questions? Perfect. Hopefully you have all that stuff written down. Here's your homework today. Yes, I bounced around a little bit. Hopefully you have your problems written down too. You have the rest of the time today. Tomorrow we're just going to do a few notes in case you're gone tomorrow. I know that there's some ag awareness trips going on tomorrow, so some people might be gone tomorrow. Okay, here's your homework today. It is page 30, numbers 1, 2, 7 through 11, 16 through 22, number 26 through number 27. There's your homework. It's due Monday. Monday. That's the 10th, I think. You should not need graph paper for this assignment. They're going to ask you to find distance, find midpoint. Read the instructions, what they're asking you for. Be careful. The rest of the time is yours. You can work on where we need to. You got plenty of time. You got 14, 15 minutes. So you got some time.
Shelby Bryman, Taylor Nielsen, Aidan Richardson, Lorelei Nash, Brooklyn Funk, Debbie Moore, Brian Cox, and Sean Hopkins.
Second period's that bad?
No, it's just, I do it every other class. So,
Do we need our books?
yeah, you're getting homework today and all that good stuff. Books, calculator, notes.
We just gotta get number 9. Number 9 is the best number.
What? Oh,
He's gonna look over the footage and see it. Be like,
Ow! You know, Luke had really cigarette. I do not want to. You're sitting next to me. It's not.
taste of confidence.
I'm not.
He's no What?
Lily!
Are they really? Why did he give them to you?
I love your
we swap.
Oh, his are probably small. His shoes are probably small.
You were just one thing that bought
Literally drove like 100 feet. You literally parked my car with my camera.
You're free.
I got a dog named Frankie.
Dude, Frank's the grease system. No, dude, Frank the grease system.
Which one is
The one that's in the hospital.
Why? Do not, because it's not completely like set yet.
No.
It's not set yet, like, it's not. I'm saying don't do that.
There's one show you.
Alright.
Don't do it. I know, do it yet. We're looking solid.
Alright, hey, today, we're taking a few notes. Make sure you have notes out right now. We will have homework today. If you're gone yesterday, welcome back. If you're gone tomorrow. Because I know egg awareness thing is tomorrow. Tomorrow, just to fill you in, we're going to do just a few notes, introduction to the next section. And then you'll have work time tomorrow on the homework that I send today, so you'll be fine. So if you want to watch the video over the weekend, you're good to go, okay? Homework today you're going to get, you'll have plenty of time to work on it, because I'm going to go through the notes really fast today, because there's not a lot we have to cover. I want to review the distance formulas one more time, because I know some people were gone yesterday. And I want to make sure that you have them written down. I warned you yesterday, you should be writing these formulas down multiple times to get better at them, because it's nice. Was that right? Aha, I knew it. Okay, now, other than that, I know that there's homework today. It'll be due on Monday, so keep that in mind. So the stuff I send today is due Monday. Work on it today in class. Don't forget about it, don't put it off. Because nothing's worse than Sunday night realizing you got 15 different assignments you got turned in. So for me, you got my assignments due Monday. Get it, work on it today and tomorrow in class. Okay. Does everyone have their notes out ready to go? Yes. You will want a calculator today to do some simple calculation stuff. So if you need to go grab one. If you have one, take it out. Just got it back there. Okay, he's taking care of it.
Okay, I like.
Perfect. Bless you.
So it's already done.
What are you talking about?
Shot it free.
Okay, here we go. Let's talk about the number line, and again, I'm going through this quick, write down the formulas, and my goal today is to show you all the formulas you need, and to show you exactly what the book's gonna give you, so you know exactly what to do. You have to read the instructions there and do the homework, because it'll ask very subtly what it wants you to do. First problem, I'd like to draw a number line. I'm gonna make this pretty short and sweet. Okay, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Let's say they have a dot here at -1, let's call that A. They have a dot at 4, let's call that B. The question asks you, maybe this is question number 7 in the textbook, I have no idea, I'm making that totally up. Let's say question number 7 says, find the distance from A to B. That's what the question asks, that's all it asks. Find the distance for the following segment. And it just says AB. That's all you see in the book is this right here. The picture's probably up above in the instructions. So you gotta go find it to see what your numbers are. Most people just count their fingers, it's common sense. You just count these little gaps between. You count, there's 5 of them, that's your answer. If you're that good, you're just gonna count your fingers, do it. I'm fine with that. Because it's not hard, it's common sense. But if you're that person that doesn't count correctly, because there's people that mess it up, they'll say it's 6 because they count the hash marks. They're not actually counting the gaps. So if you want to make sure that you guarantee get it right, count with your fingers first. Second, use the formula. The formula is this. Whatever the 2 letters are that I gave you, you subtract the 2 numbers. I don't care the order. You subtract them, and you put it in absolute value bars. And you can put them in any order. BA, AB, doesn't really matter. But you have to subtract them. This will guarantee it'll give you the 5. I almost recommend doing this. I know it seems silly, but it's nice you don't have to think about it. You just put them in, it works, it gives you the answer every single time. But you always subtract, and where I'm getting the A and B is from the letters. So A up here is what, -1? So that'll be my first number. And then you're gonna subtract the second number, whatever it is. If it's positive or negative, subtract it.